Now, I'm recording this show at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, the 14th of June. It's going to go out, or it's going out now at 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, the 15th of June. So there's a 12-hour gap, and anything can happen in 12 hours, especially when the transfer window's open. As we know, the transfer window opened earlier on Wednesday morning. And this show is really all about Declan Rice and the transfer saga that hopefully doesn't go on for too long into the whole transfer window, because it could have an impact on what we do as a club going forward. But anyway, look, fans are basking in the glory of the win that we had last week in the Europa Conference League. For a team like West Ham United, these occasions don't come around too often. So we absolutely have a right to continue celebrating, not only a week later, but perhaps even longer than that. But throughout the celebrations, fans are rightly asking, what next? Surely this is now the time to be looking for the future, towards the future, and to start building on this success. With the transfer window open on Wednesday, as I've said, isn't this the time for the club to be looking ahead to strengthen so that we have a chance of even more success in the future? And of course, all eyes are on what happens to our prized asset in this summer transfer window. Many fans have a right to think that to build an even stronger squad, to build on the success of this trophy win, then surely Declan Rice must be part of this, and that we should be looking not to sell him, but building around him. But thanks to a friend who runs Overland and Sea Facebook group, I think we may have uncovered the reason, or possibly a good reason, as to why Declan Rice is likely to be sold this summer. Dependent on what or who you want to believe, many people have suggested various reasons as to why Declan Rice is being sold this summer. On one side of the argument, you will hear fans saying that the board, or more precisely, David Sullivan, is beginning to asset strip the club now that we've won a trophy, and a European one at that. And even though it gets us back into European football for the third straight season in a row, Sullivan is going to asset strip. I won't lie, Sullivan's TalkSport interview that was quite crass and ill-timed. Doing it the day after winning the trophy was really poor judgment. And although I'm not condoning the timing of it, I do kind of get why he did it. For all the things that Sullivan has been accused of by the fan base, one thing's most definite about him, and that is he is a businessman, and he's aiming to squeeze as much money from the sale of Declan Rice as he possibly can. Now, I don't necessarily have an issue with that. Gone are the days of the Jack Walkers of this world who own football clubs for the love of it. We now have American owners like the Glazers who really do asset strip Man United. We have dirty Russian money who owned the likes of Chelsea. And we also have even dirtier money, Middle Eastern money, who currently own the likes of Newcastle and Man City. There is unlikely to be any owner of a football club who isn't out to make some kind of return on the club that they own, whether it be financial or otherwise. In fact, some go even further than just wanting to profit from their ownership status. Some current Premier League owners have been accused of using their clubs to sports wash their reputations, to make their images look better by fronting a football club. After all, who cares how owners make money or what their reputations are like, so long as they're delivering trophies, right? So does an ex-pawn baron wanting to get as much money as he can from the sale of his prized asset bother me too much? Not really. After all, the way West Ham have squandered transfer money in the past, where we have either bought players who are way past their best and end up being worth nothing, or buying players who don't fit our systems and selling them off for a cut price deal, seems to have been the West Ham way even before David Sullivan arrived. So no, I don't have an issue with him wanting to get as big a payout on Declan Rice as he possibly can. But to suggest that Sullivan is asset stripping just doesn't add up. Firstly, Sullivan isn't the only owner of West Ham United. We've got Mr. Kretinsky, we've got the Gold family, we've got Trip Smith, and a few other small shareholders. And secondly, if the owners were, or if Sullivan were, to be asset stripping, then why did West Ham United invest around £170 million in player purchases last summer? Anyone who's planning to asset strip wouldn't be investing money at all. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, well, of course, we've used the money up front for Declan Rice. That's why he wants as big a value on him as he can, because it's paying for last summer's transfers. But I don't think that's the case either. Anyway, I just don't think that this is the reason, or it's not really the main reason why Declan Rice could be sold this summer. So I'm discarding this for now as the main reason, and look at other options or other reasons. So if it's not Sullivan pushing for a sell, then who is? Well, we have to focus on the player himself for a minute. Look, when he says he loves the club, I actually believe him. Despite our knowledge of him being a Chelsea fan when he was younger, West Ham have made him one of our own and have loved him for his devotion, his endeavour, his leadership. No fan can suggest that he hasn't given everything when wearing a West Ham shirt. Yes, he's come out and said that he wants to win trophies, but he has never once said that he aims to leave West Ham United to do this. Of course, many fans were rightly upset when he talked about wanting to play in the Champions League during an England interview whilst on World Cup duty last year. It was obvious then that he meant in order to do that, he would have to move away from West Ham. But even this was kind of forgiven by fans in the understanding that we have a great talent amongst us who wants to go and play at the highest level for both club and country. But the irony is that this was his first and what could be his only domestic trophy. But the irony is that the first and only trophy that he's won could be the only trophy that he will ever have in his career on a domestic level. So, despite what Rice has said, I don't think that even he is really pushing for a move this summer. You could see how much it meant for him to be lifting the trophy for West Ham. The way he talks so fondly about West Ham United kind of it tells you that perhaps he himself, the footballer himself, isn't exactly pushing for a move this summer. So, given that we've won the Europa Conference League and are back in European football again next season, then surely the club should be biting Declan Rice's hand off to try and renegotiate and sign a different contract, shouldn't they? Look, when David Sullivan said that we'd already offered Declan Rice £200,000 a week, he wasn't lying. However, there's one crucial thing that Sullivan didn't mention, and that was that the £200,000 a week deal was based on an 8-year contract. I mean, seriously, who would want to tie themselves down to such a long contract in this day and age? Had it perhaps been, I don't know, a 2 or 3 year deal, then maybe Rice might have considered signing. Or would he? And this brings me on to our third and final character in this story, of course, and that is Declan Rice's agent, who happens to be his father, Sean Rice. Back in December 2020, news had broken out that Declan Rice had appointed Sean Rice to become his agent. The fact that his father is a staunch Chelsea fan added fuel to the stories that were circulating around back then that Chelsea were about to make a bid for Rice. However, Sean Rice wasn't happy with West Ham's £100 million valuation of the player. Well, nothing materialised, and perhaps the valuation did the job by putting off any bids coming in for Rice, and he remained a West Ham player, as we know, for the next 2.5 years. So when Sullivan stated that Rice had lost around £10 million in salaries by not accepting that deal, again, he was correct. But what was of most interest were suggestions that the offer that was made was never negotiated. It seemed that the Declan camp didn't come back to suggest changes to that offer, such as asking for only a 3-year deal rather than an 8-year deal. And there were suggestions in the press that maybe Sean Rice thought that maybe he can get a bigger salary for his son if he moved elsewhere. But that hasn't materialized either up to now. So here we are, a year later, from that when that offer was made, and Declan Rice now just has 2 years left on his current contract. So all parties are aware that if we are to capitalize on Declan Rice's value, then this is the transfer window. This is the time to get the highest possible transfer value for him. So this is most certainly a factor, but again, I'm not so sure that it's the main reason for why a sale is likely to go ahead this summer. Sullivan has said that the player doesn't want to stay, but I don't think that's true either. Like I said a moment ago, I think, given the opportunity, I think Declan Rice would stay, probably for another year. I think the main reason why a sale may be going ahead could have more to do with imminent changes coming in regarding player agent rules. I've taken the following from the website called www.transferroom.com, and I've also looked at FIFA and FA websites for clarification, which corroborate what Transfer Room have been reporting. As we're all aware, transfer values and player salaries have gone to mad levels over the years. Alongside those, agent commission fees have also gone through the roof, and you often hear that when a player fee is agreed, there's usually a hefty player agent commission on top of that or attached to it in some way. So FIFA has acted by implementing a range of regulations, and you can go to see those regulation changes that are reported on www.transferroom.com. You can see that agents and or intermediaries have to now pass a mandatory exam and then undergo continuing education to maintain their agent licenses. I would imagine that as an agent, Sean Rice will have had to do this or has already done so. This is a requirement which will have come into force in January of this year. But when you look at the list, there are 2 points of real interest. Point number 6 and point number 8. Point number 6 states representatives working on behalf of the player or a buying club will have their commissions limited to 10% of a player's future annual earnings if it's under $200,000. Don't know why it quotes dollars. And at 6% for anything above, for the length of the agreed contract. And then point 8 states that family members will effectively be banned from earning commission payments unless they are licensed agents. And it cited Alf-Inge Haaland, who was said to have received a large chunk of the 40 million euros agent fees alone for his son's move to Manchester City. Now, point 6 and point 8 won't come into force until October of this year, which means that my speculation is that this is the last transfer window, that the last opportunity for Sean Rice to earn beyond what FIFA are implementing in October. Of course, I could be wrong on this, but I just wonder if this was a judgment call made by Declan's representatives, knowing that these rules were coming in and are imminent. If it is, it kind of makes a lot of sense as to why Declan Rice is going to be sold this summer. There is an opportunity to try and negotiate an extended contract, but that won't suit the agents because after October, the agents would have to abide by whatever the new FIFA rules are in terms of what earnings there are acting as an agent for Declan Rice. So I think that's possibly the real reason why this is happening. Look, it's easy to renegotiate Declan Rice's contract, offer him another extension of another year, let him play another year, give him a higher salary, and then have a clause in his contract to say he can go next summer for around £100 million again. If it extends it by another year, that makes sense. But again, it doesn't make sense when it comes to agent fees. I could be wrong. I hope it could be pure speculation. But when you look at what FIFA have introduced with regards to how agents act and behave, and the money that they make from the sale of players, it might be a factor. Thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, do hit the subscribe and like and bell notification or all the buttons. And I'll see you all again very soon.